What is going on, guys? My name is Brennan. This is the Franchise Tagged Fantasy Football Podcast here. My co-hosts Aaron and Ray are currently gone. They're stopping world hunger, so they'll be back on Monday. Don't worry, though. So myself, I am covering what happened over the Week 7 aftermath of all the Sunday games. And as a Colts fan, I can tell you I'm pretty sad, but, it's bittersweet knowing that this team keeps losing and our draft capital keeps rising. But let's move on here. So I'll start with the first game here. I had Detroit going into Baltimore here. A lot of people had Detroit winning this game. A lot of people were betting heavily on them, thinking that this would be a pretty easy game. Both teams 6-1, 5-2, 4-2 going into this, but Detroit just gets absolutely slaughtered. Lamar was just throwing all over them. It was kind of crazy. It's 6-38. Starting with the Ravens side, man, Lamar was perfect. 21 for 27, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns. 9 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown. We hit a fumble loss, but on the day, 33 points. You're not upset at all. I said before the week, starting some of these guys in the backfield is going to be rough, but Gus Edwards had himself a game, 14 carries for 64 yards for a touchdown and 1 reception for 80 yards, which is just absolutely crazy. So he had a pretty good game, 20 points for him. Receiving wise, it wasn't much of the receivers, so to speak. They all kind of just got scattered in. Zay Flowers had 4 catches, 75 yards, so you're not upset. Nelson Aguilar just had his one little catch for the touchdown. Odell Beckham actually saw some pretty decent work, 5 for 7 for 49 yards. Rashad Bateman, he's probably the end of that stick here. He's 2 for 36. Again, I don't think he's worth rostering or even trying to keep a monitor for. But Mark Andrews, for those who drafted him, you're very happy today. 4 for 63 and 2 touchdowns. It's a 22-point game for him. You're super excited. Overall, great day for Ravens starters. Most of them, you're pretty happy. The people you're not happy with, though, is for the Lions. Well, mainly Jared Goff. Jared Goff was really bad today. 33 for 53, 284 yards and interception. He ended up with 9 points. I mean, it's pretty bad considering what everyone thought they could do. Jahmyr Gibbs was given the role today. And this is what you kind of expected when you drafted him. For those that did start him, congrats. I mean, 11 carries, 68 yards. He had a touchdown on the ground. And then he had 9 receptions for 58 yards. That's the game that we all expected that Gibbs would be when you took him in the 3rd round. And it's just crazy that it just takes for, people to get injured for him to actually get some type of run. But the fact that, granted, Detroit was losing this entire game. I think they finally scored when it was 35-0. But it's just the fact that, it's disappointing. And maybe this will come back that, they'll use him more. We'll see, though. Amon-Ra did Amon-Ra things. You're not upset. 13 for 102 yards. So congrats to that. Jameson Williams had 6 targets but 0 receptions. It's pretty hurtful. I don't know what you do with him. I mean, he's getting targets. He got more targets than Khalif Raymond and Josh Reynolds. He just didn't get any catches. It happens. And then Sam Laporta, you're not upset. I mean, granted, you took this guy, you picked him off the waiver wire, and he's 6 for 52, 11 points in the day. Again, pretty good day. Nothing crazy injury-wise for this game. I know a lot of people from the running back perspective were banking on Keaton Mitchell from the Ravens to be something. Unfortunately, he pulled his hamstring. He only had 1 reception for 9 yards. So for all those that were holding him on your IR spot, he'll probably be right back on there. So I think you can safely drop him, unfortunately. Next game, it was a battle of the backups. Las Vegas Raiders going into Chicago, and Chicago, I mean, just hurts their chances more and more of getting a top draft pick. But hey, you take a dub when you get it. It was 12-30. Talking about the Chicago side, Tyson Bagnet, who came from a D2 college today, was 21 for 29, 162 yards, a touchdown. He had 3 carries for 24 yards. And it's kind of crazy to think that this player here has more wins than Justin Fields does at home, or he ties them, I believe it's what the stat I saw. It's kind of crazy. But Deontay Foreman stepped up today because Roshan Johnson didn't clear concussion protocol, and this man had a day. So for all those that you faced him or you did start him, you're super happy or bummed either way. 16 carries, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns with 3 receptions for 31 yards and a touchdown. I mean, 31 points is just, you can't ask for any more than that. And then you got to start DJ Moore, and I mean, you could have gotten worse. 8 receptions for 54 yards, about 9.4 points, and half PPR standards. What I'm looking at here. So again, you're not upset. You did what you did. Regarding the other guys, Darnell Mooney got some work, 4 receptions, 32 yards, and then their rookie Tyler Scott, he got some little bit of role with 2 receptions, nothing really crazy. Cole Kmet was a big letdown though. He had no catches, no nothing, not even a target. So it's just one of those games that happens. I don't know what you do next week, because supposedly Justin Fields will play against the Chargers, so we'll see. On the Raiders side, it was bad. Bryson Hoyer filled in, so you really thought it'd be hyper targeting players, but that wasn't the case. He was 17 for 32 for 120 yards and 2 interceptions. So Aiden O'Connell came in at the end of the game, and he actually went 10 for 13 for 75 and a touchdown and an interception. So I don't know. This is one of those games where, as Raiders fans, you're just like, you kind of just keep hoping they lose, because at some point you just need to start over with a quarterback, because Jimmy G is supposed to come back next week, but you just can't bank on that consistency of him because he's always injured. Josh Jacobs, 11 carries, 35 yards, and then 1 reception for 6 yards. It looks like it just wasn't his game. Really not many checkdowns from Brian Hoyer, what you were hoping for. So it just sucks. Jacoby Myers led this team with receptions, and not in yards though. He had the touchdown at the end of the game. Devontae Adams, I get it. He's super frustrating because it's just a really frustrating situation. You thought he'd be QB proof. It's just 7 receptions for 57 yards. It's not terrible, but obviously spending a high capital, it sucks. And Jacoby Myers is getting all these touchdowns. So I don't know if I would definitely say he's a trade for candidate, but I would not try to trade him away, because you're not going to get what you think for him. So just be mindful of that. For those that started Michael Mayer, because you're hoping on the same production as last week, you didn't happen. 2 receptions for 13 yards. It's it sucks, is what it is, but you just got to move on, hoping maybe Jimmy G plays next week and he gets a little more run. I had to talk about this game. Cleveland comes into Indy and gets saved by the refs. I'll put it that way. Cleveland 39, Indy 38. This was a really good game, back and forth. Gardner Minshew, man, had himself a game. He went 15 for 23, 35 yards, 2 touchdowns, really poor pick, and then he had 3 carries for 29 yards with 2 touchdowns on the ground. He was really effective today. Running back wise, Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss both had 18 carries exactly, but Jonathan Taylor's more effective back. I mean, obviously you paid him that much, you expect him to be. He went 18 for 75 and a touchdown with 3 receptions for 45 yards. Zach Moss still had 18 carries, 57 yards. He is still, if you are on a bye week and you have him, I would definitely play him. You're not going to be really disappointed. He's going to get work. I think Jonathan Taylor starts to see more work than he does, but I think Zach Moss is still a viable flex option if you're on buys. Josh Downs, man, kid's great. 5 receptions, 125 yards and a touchdown. You could start him almost every week, because I think Gardner Minshew likes him and he will keep focusing on him. Michael Pittman got saved. He had his 1 reception for like 75 yards. Other than that, you were really bummed. He had 1 reception for 75 yards and a touchdown, which basically saved your week for him. I do expect you still keep him in your lineups. He's still great. It's just, you got saved. You take it. Regarding anything else in this team, there's nothing else. On the Cleveland side, Deshaun Watson came in for a series and a half. He threw a really bad pass, got picked off, and then kind of got like shoved in the air and landed awkwardly. He could have came back in the game, but the coach kept him out. So granted, you have a lot of money invested in him, but there's got to be some part of it that you think that you can he didn't look good. I will say that too. I mean, besides that 1 catch, which was really a bad throw, he did not look good starting this game. And I can kind of see why the coach went with that. His best chances, Stefanski's fighting for his job too at the end of the day. And I think Deshaun Watson is, I don't know if he's got it anymore, but man, he did not look good in those first 5 plays. And I think even a lot of Browns fans can tell you that too. But PJ Walker came in. He was 15 for 32 for 178 yards. He's not that great either. There's some rumbles of Browns fans really hoping they trade back for Jacoby Brissett, because he knows the system and they actually were effective. And I think they could actually win games with him. And I don't blame them. Jerome Ford had his 1 carry for like 60 yards. And after that, you're lucky he got the touchdown because he was really ineffective. He ended up getting hurt in this game. They said it's an ankle sprain. But Kareem Hunt came in, 10 carries, 31 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns on the ground. So just know that it looks like it'll be Kareem Hunt's backfield next week if Jerome Ford can't go. And then this receiving core, man, it's tough to start. Amari Cooper, he had 8 targets for only 2 catches, and then Elijah Moore had 4 catches for 59 yards, and then David Njoku, he wasn't terrible, 5 for 54. So if you started him, congrats. I mean, I was one of them. I had 2. I bet against my Colts a lot, so it's just what tendencies lead me that way. So it is what it is. But next game, Buffalo goes into New England with an 8-point favorite, and they choke it away at the very end because it's always terrible to be up by, well, I think they were up by 3. Yeah, it was such a bad game for them. They go back, they get this win, and then they just choke away at the end. It's Buffalo 25, New England 29. Mac Jones wasn't terrible today. I mean, 25 for 30 for 272 yards and 2 touchdowns. Man, he was dicing them up. Ramondre Stevenson, 9 carries, 34 yards. A lot of his work came from receptions, which is what he's good for. 6 receptions, 51 yards. So it's showing healthy progression. So I'm really happy for that. And then Zeke, 11 carries, 31 yards, and he had the touchdown on the goal line. So if you started him, you're not hurting. Kendrick Bourne, back-to-back good weeks, 6 for 63 and a touchdown. He did have a fumble loss, but it's still really good that if you picked him up, you spent that fab on him. You can, I don't know if you can comfortably start him, but it's a gamble that it's not a bad gamble. No one else really did a whole lot here. I mean, Mike Gesicki had the 2 catches for 5 yards and a touchdown. You're not going to start Mike Gesicki next week. Hunter Henry's not a thing anymore. So it is what it is. On the Buffalo side, Josh Allen, I mean, he wasn't terrible fantasy-wise. I mean, 24 points, but 27-41, 265 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a 2-point conversion. He did have 1 INT, and he also fumbled again. He's got a case of the fumbles and interceptions here. But granted, 24 points, you're not upset. And then James Cook, 3 catches, 46 yards and a touchdown, then with 13 and 56, you're really happy with that. I mean, I'm happy with that as an owner. Latavius Murray was creeping in that work, and he really didn't today. He only had 4 carries for 8 yards, so it was really James Cook's backfield, and I hope they stick with that. So, Stephon Diggs did Stephon Diggs things. 6 catches, 58 yards and a touchdown. You're really happy. It's what you get. Double-digit points, you take it every time. Man, Gabe Davis, it's rough. I mean, 1 catch for 6 yards. I don't know what to do with him. I really thought this would be a bounce back week. I thought New England tends to focus on the better player, which was Stephon, but that wasn't the case. He just wasn't getting the ball, and it was really frustrating watching this game. But maybe this is a Dalton Kincaid welcoming party because he had 8 catches for 75 yards. He caught all of his targets. So, and then Dawson Knox was only 1 for 10 yards. So again, I don't know. This is like a trend that we'll see next week. It's really hard to tell. You got to see a little more consistency, but I think Dalton Kincaid would be someone that you should monitor next week if you are in tight end wasteland, by all means. After that, we had the Washington Commanders going to New York, and again, I think New York looks a lot better with Tyrod Taylor than they do Daniel Jones, and it's absolutely crazy because I think the guys rally around him, and you watch the first couple games in New York and you're thinking, man, the O-line is atrocious. Daniel Jones has no time. And then, I mean, Tyrod had no problem today. He was 18 for 29, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 8 carries for 25 yards. He had 21 points. You could have started him today and been perfectly fine. Saquon Barkley, he looks a lot better. 21 carries, 77 yards with 3 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown. So 17 points in the day. You're really happy with that. Jalen Hyatt had 2 catches, 75 yards, which led the team. I mean, this was a really dogfight in the trenches for defenses because Wan'Dale Robinson, if you started him, it sucks. 1 catch for 22 yards isn't going to do it. But this was, I guess, it's tight end day because Darren Waller, man, 7 catches for 98 yards and a touchdown, 22 points. He just looks better with Tyrod. So, because Daniel Jones I don't know what it is, but Tyrod loves Darren Waller, and that's what you kind of drafted because everyone thought in the camp hype that Darren Waller and Daniel Jones would be best friends, but lo and behold, it's Tyrod Taylor. So it is what it is on that side. And the Commanders, you started Sam Howell. He's been really good for you, but this game, it wasn't there. I don't know, the guys weren't getting open, whatever it was. He just looked like he was just getting pressured all game for holding the ball too long. But 22 for 249, an interception, 2 carries for 15 yards, only getting 9 points. It just sucks. And then Brian Robinson's day was saved again with a touchdown for 8 carries for 23 yards. And then the receivers here, I mean, You had Terry McLaurin for 6 for 90. Jahan Doxson actually had an okay game, 5 for 43. And then Curtis Samuel was not effective today. He was just only 4 for 25. So it just was a letdown game for the Commanders. I don't think this is a continuing trend. They're very up and down, and I just think this is a very down week for them. So on to the next game. We had Atlanta 16, Tampa Bay 13. I'll talk about the Atlanta side because it's a hot commodity here on the streets. Arthur Smith is the new Pete Carroll for fantasy football. That man just does not care for fantasy football, and it's really tough for fantasy football owners because Bijan Robinson had 1 carry for 3 yards. He had a headache apparently before the game. It was too much. He was in the game. He did take snaps, but like they didn't use him at all. They were clearly trying to avoid doing that. Arthur Smith was manipulating the medical system because they didn't have to put him, designate him as out. I don't know why. It's very weird. Desmond Ridder had himself an okay game. He had 3 fumbles lost in the end zone. Again, I've preached this. This dude is just not a good quarterback. He is a very good backup. He will be a very good backup. He is not a guy that you want starting every week. And I get it. The Falcons are 4-3, but I think you can definitely say those 4 wins were not because of Desmond Ridder. That's just like it's not the case. So Tyler Algier got all the work. He had 21 carries for 59 yards and 3 receptions for 53 yards. No one started him, so it is what it is. Drake London, I know he's been on a hot streak. It kind of cooled off today. He had 6 catches for 54 yards. I mean, you're not upset about that in most PPR standards, but it's just not what you were hoping for. And then Kyle Pitts, he had a really immaculate catch today. It was one of those weird ones where you catch on the side of your hip and then pull it back to you. Pretty impressive. Go watch it. He had 3 catches for 47 yards. I still don't know if I want to start him every week. I know he's been consistently getting better with it, but I just don't know if I'd want to do that. On Tampa Bay side, man, Baker's, it's frustrating, I think, because he's going through these games where he looks good, he looks bad, he looks good. He was okay. 27-42, 275 yards, a touchdown, a really bad pick, and he had 3 carries for 32 yards. Rashad White is just, he's not a good running back. I mean, he got some decent points today because he had a lot of receptions. He had 6 for 65, but 13 carries for 34 yards. And I think this will probably be the last year of Rashad White starting. So for dynasty owners, I would definitely try to trade away him now if you're on a sell basis because someone could pay for him for a playoff run, but that's just not someone I want to hold. Mike Evans, man, he did Mike Evans things, 6 for 82 and a touchdown. You're really happy. Chris Godwin, I'm not upset, 6 for 66. It's what he's been doing lately. He's just not getting the touchdowns. It's unfortunate. But Cade Otton wasn't terrible, 5 for 43. You're not really super, upset if that's what you got out of him for the tight end. He got receptions, and that's all that really matters at a tight end. So when you get those, are great. Heading on to the other games is the 1 o'clock games. 4 o'clock East Coast, 1 o'clock my time. Arizona goes into Seattle here. Arizona just did not look good. So did Seattle, but it was Arizona 10, Seattle 20. I think this is probably the last week of Josh Dobbs. If I had to guess, I think Kyler might play next week. It sounds like it, but who knows? Josh Dobbs wasn't, he didn't hurt you if you started him. He had 7 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown. Then he went 19 for 33 with 146 yards. So not super upset. And his backfield's atrocious, man. For all those that spent, like Ray, who spent on Amiri DeMarcado, he was the leading back this game. He had 4 catches for 17 yards and 13 for 58. And then Damian Williams only had 1 carry for 2 yards. And Keontae Ingram was irrelevant, had 0, nothing. So it sucks, is what it is. Hollywood Brown wasn't great for you today. He only had 3 catches, 49 yards. It was just not a good game for Arizona. Rondale Moore got a little bit of work here. He had 4 carries for 24 yards and then just 2 catches for 2 yards. So it sucks if you started him thinking that, maybe he might pick up some steam, but that's just not how it went. And then Zach Ertz was a letdown today for 3 catches for 19 yards. But on Seattle side, man, it looked like Geno Smith was going to have a really good game. First half, he had 2 touchdowns. Then I don't know. And this is another thing too. I don't think Geno Smith is the answer long term for Seattle. Just something's off there. He looked so good in the first half and then looked terrible in the second half. And I don't know what it was. But Kenneth Walker, he had to carry this team. He had 26 carries for 105 yards and 2 receptions for 6 yards. Also, I forgot to mention this. DK Metcalf got ruled out right before the game. So hopefully you had a pivot option, because JSN was a not bad start today. If you had that, 4 catches for 63 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett was a letdown. I was really hoping he'd have a bigger game, but it just didn't happen. 4 catches for 38 yards. And then, that's it. It's just one of those games. It was low scoring. It wasn't anything special. On to the next one. Pittsburgh upsets the Rams. I lost a ton of money on this game. I really thought the Rams would do this. Hey, I guess my eyes are worse than I thought, because I thought Kenny Pickett was stopping the fourth and 1 to win the game. But hey, they gave it to him, because it definitely was a home game for the Steelers. Kenny Pickett wasn't terrible today. He did 17 for 25 for 230. He did have the 1 carry for a touchdown. So kudos to him. And then Najee Harris, if you started him, you're really happy. 14 carries, 53 yards, a touchdown. I still think to this day that he is the second best running back, because Jaylen Warren is the best running back on the team by far. It's not even close. He had 6 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown. Najee Harris is just a big back, and I get you don't want to overuse Jaylen Warren because he's a smaller back, but I'll die on that horse. I'll die on that dream all day long that Jaylen Warren's a better running back. George Pickens, man, I thought Deontay Johnson would eat into a little bit, but not at all. George Pickens, he didn't miss a beat. 5 catches, 170 yards. Deontay Johnson came back today, and he had 5 catches for 79 yards. So, again, for those who held on to him and started him today, you're really excited. Again, Pat Freiermuth is on the IR. Their backup tight end was irrelevant. It's Hayward, Connor Hayward. He only had 2 catches, so nothing worth even mentioning. And then for the Rams side, I thought Stafford would have a big game today. Only had 1 touchdown on 231 yards throwing. He had a bad interception. And then this backfield. So Darrell Henderson did get the workload, and it was unsure if it was Zach Evans or Royce Freeman. So I'll give you the numbers here. So Darrell Henderson had 18 carries for 61 yards and a touchdown, while Royce Freeman had 12 carries for 66 yards. I mean, you can start him in a pitch for Darrell Henderson, I guess. I just don't get your hopes up. I mean, he got 13 points, so you're really excited. But out of the receivers, man, Puka, this is going to be the situation for Puka and Cooper Kupp. I think they're both wide receiver 1s, but I don't think they can live in harmony. I think one's going to outshine the other one week, and this is Puka's week, because Puka had 8 catches for 154 yards, and Cooper Kupp had 2 catches for 29 yards, and he had a 2-point conversion. So you're really let down from Cooper Kupp today. But Puka, if you started him, you did start him, but you're really excited because this was a wide receiver 1 week. So it is what it is. I'm gonna say it now. I think it's gonna be really hard for both these receivers to live in harmony together and be very, very effective being wide receiver 1s. I just don't think it'll happen. On to the next game. Aaron Ray's Green Bay Packers go into Denver and just lay a stinker. Unfortunately, it was 17-19. It was a good hard fought game for the Packers at the end. But man, Jordan Love just throws really, really bad balls when it matters most. And I don't know if Jordan Love is the answer long term for the Packers. It's really tough to gauge it because there's sometimes he looks good and sometimes he doesn't, and he didn't look good today. He was 21 for 31 for 180 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, which was a really costly pick, and he ran the ball 3 times for 21 yards. I don't know if it's just the weapons. I'm just not sure, but yeah. And then the running backs. Aaron Jones was not as effective today. A.J. Dillon had more carries for more yards, and then he had 2 receptions for 34 yards. So it was 15, 61 for 2 and 34 for A.J. Dillon. And Aaron Jones had 8 carries for 35 yards and 3 receptions for 22 yards. I don't think Aaron Jones is still healthy, fully healthy, I would say. So I don't know what to do with this. Hopefully next week he's not on limited practices, because if he's on limited practices, he's going to get limited work in the game. For the Packers receiver side, though, Romeo Doubs saved if you started him, 2 catches, 30 yards, and a touchdown. And then Christian Watson, I think you can bench him from here on out. I think he's a bust, and it's not. I don't think it's because of him. I just think it's because there's just not enough chemistry between him and Jordan Love, because he had 3 catches for 27 yards today, and you probably took him in the 4th, 5th round. I think you can move on. Unfortunately, you just bench him. You don't cut him. It just sucks. You see the name, you're really hoping for something, but it's just not going to be there. Denver side, Russell Wilson, just, okay game. Didn't do anything to hurt this team. 20 for 29, 194 yards and a touchdown. Javonte Williams, I mean, finally, he had more than 10 carries. He had 15 carries for 82 yards, 3 catches for 14 yards. I mean, this is a positive thing to see for Javonte. You're really excited. I'm hoping they feed him more. Me and Aaron were definitely upset. It's just kind of frustrating that they don't use him as much as they should. So, and then out of the receiver group, and Cortland Sutton, I mean, again, he's the lead wide receiver one there. He had 6 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy was fired for 64, and that was it. I mean, Adam Trautman had 1 catch. Yeah, it's tough to start someone from the Broncos side, and if it is, it's Javonte now, and then either Cortland Sutton, and I don't even want to start Jerry Jeudy. So it's rough out here in these fantasy football streets. Next game, which was the more exciting game, the Chargers going to Kansas City, and I think there needs to be a talk about Justin Herbert. So Justin Herbert now has a losing record as a starting quarterback in the NFL. I know his rookie year was rough, but he is under 500 as a starting quarterback. He has 17 interceptions in the fourth quarter, and I get it. He's a lot of times in negative scripts, but at some point, you've got to take that leap of saying that everyone thinks you're a top 5 quarterback. You got to take that step to be an elite quarterback, and I think it's hard. And I think Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. I think he's a very elite system quarterback. I think it's hard for him to be the guy that a lot of people think he is, and Chargers fans think he is too. I think the world of Justin Herbert. I think he's a great quarterback. I just think that he needs to be in a place where his defense is at least top 15, and he hasn't had that because Brandon Staley is a terrible head coach and a terrible defensive coordinator on top of that. But enough of my ranting here. Justin Herbert let you down today. He had 2 interceptions. He had 1 touchdown thrown, though, for 259 yards. And this running back situation, Josh Kelly had 7 carries for 75 yards. He had 1 carry, though, for a 50-yard touchdown. It was a broken coverage from defense. It's weird that they're using Austin Eckler as a Derrick Henry type back, and I don't get why he's not that. And you'd think they'd want to use him for longevity purposes as a more receiver type role, as someone to check down, because that's what he's more effective in. He had 14 carries for 45 yards and only 1 catch. It was a big letdown game for Austin Eckler, and I don't know why. But again, these receivers, Josh Palmer, man, 5 catches, 133 yards. Keenan Allen only had 4 for 55. He doesn't do well in Kansas City. They showed a stat today that he does not do well in Kansas City, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just in his head, but he was not effective. And then that's about it for the Chargers side. Yeah, it was 17-21 at half, and then 17-31 at the final score. So really sucked. This was the typical Pat Mahomes game. When we talk about typical Pat Mahomes games, 32 for 42, 424 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have a pick, but he had 4 carries, 29 yards. So about 33 points. So for those who finally took Pat Mahomes in the second round, you finally got that game that you drafted for. And I can tell you this much: it was good to see Pat Mahomes look like Pat Mahomes too. But Isaiah Pacheco, start him every week. You get what you get. 13 carries, 32 yards. He did get saved at the end with the touchdown for the reception. He had four receptions, 28 yards and a touchdown. Receiving wise, I think you can start Rashee Rice pretty comfortably from here on out as their wide receiver because it looks like he's the guy. He had the most targets out of the receivers besides Travis Kelce. He had 6, so he went 5 for 16, a touchdown. And then Marquez Valdez-Scantling had that 1. He always has these 1 games where he just gets the touchdown and all the yards, but this was it. And then, man, Travis Kelce, 12 catches, 179 yards, and a touchdown. So if you win against Kelce or Mahomes, is probably not good for you. That's all I have this week's game. Next game, the last game that I just saw was the Miami Dolphins going into Philly. I will say to Dolphins fans, I get it. You had 10 flags for 100 yards while Philly had 0. But I think there was opportunities where you had to get back in this game regardless of the flags, and it just sucks. But Tua was a letdown. 22 for 32, 216 yards, 1 touchdown with an interception. He only got you 10 points. And the Raheem Mostert, man, he was getting stuffed. Anytime he ran that ball in the first half, it was negative yards. My buddy showed me a picture of a bet he had where he just had to get a over 1 yard total yard for Raheem Mostert. He had -8 at halftime. I just couldn't help but laugh. Like, it's a free bet basically, and you're just sitting there sweating out a free bet. But he didn't kill you at the end of what it could have been way worse. He had 9 carries for 45 yards, the reception for 6 yards. You can drop Jeff Wilson. I think it's pretty He's not a thing. I mean, Ahmed had more carries than Jeff Wilson, so I think you can drop Jeff Wilson pretty comfortably. And I know you're waiting for Devon Achane to come back, but that is what it is. Tyreek Hill had another Tyreek Hill game, 11 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Jalen Waddle was in and out of this game. He had back issues, but he still came back. He had 5 catches for 63 yards. So, I mean, for him to be missing most of the game and come back, you take it for what it is. That's what it is for the Dolphins side. And on the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts, he's throwing some really weird, bad picks and then fumbling it too, but he's still effective, man. 23 for 31, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries for 21 yards in the famous tush push. He had a touchdown there. He had a fumble loss and a pick. Again, super excited for what you get for Jalen Hurts. He's been very consistently getting you points, so you're excited about that. And then DeAndre Swift, 15 carries, 62 yards, 3 receptions for 13 yards. Again, you're going to keep starting him. He gets the work. He's clearly the running back one, and you have no issues there. Another A.J. Brown game, 10 receptions, 137 yards, and a touchdown. You're really excited that this is where you drafted him. And then, man, Devonta Smith, it's rough in these streets starting him. 4 catches for 49 yards. I don't know what happened because he was looking like he was going to be the receiver one for that team. And obviously, AJ Brown obviously said that it wasn't a receptions thing for him. It was just a conversation for him and Jalen Hurts, but it drastically changed from that conversation. And I think I would try to trade away Devonta Smith right now. And I don't know what you can get, but I think if you can get something decent, I would. I just don't know if you're going to get what you got redrafted wise in return. So I would look to trade him away. And then Dallas Goedert, he's on a roll, man. 5 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. He's back to what you thought he'd be when you drafted him. But that's all I have, folks, for the games. If you stuck around this long, let me know what you guys got going on for, today's game. We got the Monday night game. We got the 49ers going into Minnesota. It's a 7-point favorite for, San Francisco. Just know Debo's out. I fully expect the 49ers to win this game pretty comfortably. I think Kirk Cousins is going to struggle mightily against this defense. But yeah, let me know what you guys need for a Monday miracle, man. I need Brandon Ayuk to get 8 more points. So I'm hoping for that myself, guys. But all right, guys, see you later.